attraction. He's often shunned or considered a bigot. And here's how we worded his email. Okay, he says he thought it would be a good topic to talk about how LGBTQ Catholics who have chosen to be chaste feel shunned by the rest of the community. I know that if I make a comment because of my beliefs, I'm usually the first to be called a bigot or shunned. And so basically we want to have a candid conversation about this issue, especially, if you or if someone you know or love experiences same-sex attraction, maybe trying to live their Catholic faith devoutly and chastely and so forth. There's absolutely nothing wrong with loving close friendships between two men or two women. Obviously, the Church says that the acting upon that, the sexual activity is where the problem comes in. So we want to just know if you, like I say, if you or someone you know, maybe you face the same kind of a situation, or maybe you don't. Maybe you've got a same-sex attraction. You've got a lot of people, other people that you know in the self-identified LGBTQ community who are very supportive of you and your faith. That would be something we'd love to hear about as well. So the number, as Debbie gave it, is 833-288-3986.
So if you're trying to live out your Catholic faith, and you're a devout Catholic, and you also identify with this community, the LGBTQ community, but you feel like, wow, I just don't fit in. This is not, there's a certain list of rules, if you will, to be part of this community and be accepted. And I this just isn't right. I don't get it. They share similar things as I do or something of that nature. But in this one area, when it comes to our religious beliefs and our practices, there's a big divide. Now, I just wanted to say something. This came up yesterday. I had a dear friend who knew we announced this topic yesterday, and a dear friend called me and said, Debbie, you're not going to believe this. You talk about timing. You always talk about how your show is just, the Holy Spirit just has this show is totally governed by the Holy Spirit. And it's so true. She said, last night on one of the reality shows on TV, I don't usually watch these shows, but there was a reality show on TV last night where this couple was getting married, and they live in LA, and they chose to get married in her home state, I believe, of Kentucky. And they have a friend who is a pastor who was going to do the service. And this pastor, a couple years back, made comments about homosexuals and how it's not in line with Christian, beliefs and stuff. And anyway, her new friends from LA, who are all part of or are friends with the LGBTQ community, really pounced on her and said, you need to fire this pastor because this pastor is a bigot and mean and this and that and hypocritical. And she did. She fired the pastor. She ended up getting a celebrity to do the wedding ceremony. But anyway, my point is this really healthy to do, folks? And this is where I just wanted to say, Jerry, this is where I have a real problem with labeling people. We are souls. We are souls first. And that is so important. And our souls are going to live on forever. And they're going to end up, okay, in one of three places, okay, either heaven, purgatory, or hell, right? Now purgatory, you're on your way to heaven, but you see what I'm saying? Our souls are going to go on forever. And we're losing that with these identifications that we feel that are so important here on earth. I think it's very dangerous. And I think it divides us. It sets up such a division that it doesn't allow for growth and communication. It just simply divides and separates, and that to me is not of God. That's my personal opinion. So I have a real problem with this, and that really bothered me that our dear, wonderful friend and loyal listener sent us that email saying, "Can you do a show on this?" It breaks my heart that he feels like he doesn't have a social a support system around him because he chooses to live out his Catholic faith. What are we saying about that? Something's wrong there. We should be supporting one another on the journey of life and our spiritual journey. I don't know. I just had to say that, Jerry, because this is where I have a problem with labels.
Well, I'm glad that you did. And I'm going to give the phone number again. Today we're talking about Catholicism and the LGBTQ community, and that is we're using that term for the community because it's one that they self-identify with, not necessarily because the church would look at it that way. But we're just asking if you maybe have a loved one who is striving to live his or her faith as a Catholic and maybe doesn't find support for that, in fact, maybe opposition to that or worse. We're not trying to paint with a big brush here or make the LGBTQ community look bad. It's not an attack or anything like that. We're just trying to have a conversation about this because there are so many same-sex attracted people, men and women, who are in our pews on Sundays and maybe at weekday mass and so forth, trying to live their life, maybe going to Courage, the beautiful apostolate, couragerc.org, I believe is the website. We'll double check on that. But at the same time, there are many people, including a lot of former Catholics, who feel like the church insults them or is mean to them or what have you. And so they somehow, they just take on this attitude toward the church and toward Christians like there's no possibility of accepting them or the Christian faith or anything like that. So that's what we're talking about today. Weigh in on this conversation here. What's been your experience? 833-288-3986. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're coming right back. I'm Jerry Usher.
And I'm Debbie Georgiani. We want to tell you about the Inspired by Faith Book Club.
Join us as we gather together and read a featured inspirational book each month and engage in meaningful discussions together.
Want to participate? The details are simple and can be found at jerryanddebbie.com by clicking on the Book Club tab.
Invite your friends and let's spend some quality time in fellowship with the Inspired by Faith Book Club at jerryanddebbie.com.
This is Mike and Alicia Hernan with the Messy Family Minute. When you have a fight with your spouse or, a discussion with emotion, it's very easy to have tunnel vision and to make the goal of communication getting our way. Because, of course, we are right and they are wrong.
The reality is, there are many things couples need to decide that aren't moral issues, but instead prudential judgments. Often we can become obsessed with making the perfect decision, but we all need to remember that at the end of the day, even if you have a smarter idea than your spouse, it's better to be wrong together than right alone.
The goal of communication in marriage is not about being right or even simply being understood, but it's about achieving unity. We need to trust our spouse and listen with an open heart and being willing to see from a different perspective. Becoming a better listener with your spouse will actually make you a better person. For more insights, visit us at messyfamilyminute.org.
Okay, we need your take on this topic. The title, actually it's a question, shunned for living the faith in the LGBTQ world. We want to ask that question. Have you give your responses, your experience, or what you know of the situation. Please weigh in. What you have to say is very, very important. That's how we learn and that's how we grow. Speaking about learning and growing, I always check this out, and so do you, Jerry. I know that because it's one of your favorite programs. EWTN News Nightly, tonight, 9 Eastern Time. Folks, please check it out. And Jerry, you said something right before we went on break there for just a brief second. You talked about this idea of, identifying with this community. I just want to say this again, and this is just my own personal thoughts. Sometimes I like to interject them just because it helps to feed the discussion or get us thinking in a certain way. Think about it, folks. When we're standing in front of God, in front of Jesus, right? After we're served our time here on earth and our mission and our purpose, right? And God calls us home. I certainly don't think He's gonna be looking down that tunnel and saying, "Oh, here comes Johnny, the LGBTQ member." Okay, I don't think that's happening. He's going to see our hearts and our souls, and I have such a problem with these labels. I think it's so bad for people in the journey of growing, evolving, learning, understanding. It just keeps people stuck. If you guys disagree with me, let's talk about it. But I don't know. I just see it, probably, Jerry, because I was a youth minister for so many years, and I saw so many teens have to live under labels. And it just was, it was oppressive for them.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you made that point. And when you do identify whether it's LGBTQ or any sort of group, if you self-identify to a great extent or completely with that, you're kind of excluding all others as well. And I would just add to what you said, Debbie. If I were to compile a hierarchy of realities, I guess I'll call that, about myself, I would be first and foremost Catholic. I'm a Catholic first. I'm a male. I'm an American citizen. I'm a radio broadcaster. Nowhere on my list would even be a mention of sexuality, because I don't think if we identify solely with that, I think that's really a narrow understanding of who we are as persons. I think we're doing ourselves a disfavor, by so closely and exclusively identifying with one particular group.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. That was well said. Folks, there are a couple open phone lines. So if you feel prompted by the Spirit, please share your thoughts on this. We want to grow from this discussion, but we need your help. We're not going to do this alone. We need you. 833-288-3986. You'll speak to Ryan Penny. He's wonderful to talk to. He'll put you on hold. You'll get to listen live and jump right into the discussion. Let's hear what Lynn has to say. And Lynn is in Minnesota on Real Presence Radio. That's what she's listening on. And Lynn, welcome. Oh, Lynn's not ready. Oops, sorry. I was so excited to get on with this discussion. Lynn's not ready yet. Hold on.
Well,
Lynn's
actually,
still talking to Ryan.
Very timely. We got an email yesterday. I don't think this emailer even knew that we were going to do this topic today. And I will leave the names anonymous, but the emailer says, interesting. This was from yesterday. Interesting that tomorrow's focus is on the LGBTQ issues, because that is unfortunately what we are dealing with. We were given an ultimatum to embrace the partner as family or lose our relationship with our son. Our son admitted not knowing which side is right, and hated feeling stuck in the middle. He seems to have received counsel from an LGBTQ friend and maybe the partner's family. I know God is bigger than all of this and pray that myself and my husband don't lose our focus or hope. I seem to have more faith and hope than my husband at this point. I'm praying for God to give him an increased measure. Thank you tremendously. And so we thank that emailer for calling in. And Debbie, this is what happens often. It's almost all or nothing. There seems to be sometimes no room whatsoever for a practice of the Christian faith and an adherence to the teachings of the church. To the exclusion and sometimes to the very, very painful disappointment of family members.
Right. It's all or nothing. That's what I learned last night when I was watching this reality show, Jerry. That's exactly what happened to the gal that was getting married. I mean, she grew up with this pastor of her Christian church, and she had to fire the pastor because her LA friend said, "You're not one of us. We love the LGBTQ and this guy doesn't. And so you need to get rid of your childhood friend in order to be friends with us." Now, doesn't that sound kind of strange? I mean, when you think about it, that's really taking away people's abilities to establish friendships, to have relationships. It's really problematic on many levels. Okay, so now Lynn is ready. Thank you, Ryan, for working so quickly on the phones in Minnesota, listening on Real Presence Radio. Hi, Lynn. Welcome again to Take Two.
Good morning. I just
Hi,
had
Lynn.
two concerns. I often hear this, that people are labeling and then they're discriminated based on the labels, but I don't think we should use the terminology that people give themselves when it's not raising the dignity to what really God is calling them to. So why would someone identify with a temptation they suffer from? Like if I have a temptation to set things on fire, I don't go around with a big label on my shirt, kind of like the Scarlet Letter. I don't want to be known by that. I want people to pray for me because of it, but I don't want to take pride in that temptation because it doesn't raise me up to the dignity that God's calling me to. So I don't think we should use the terminology they use in the LGBT whatever. I just say those people that face the temptations of sexual attraction to the opposite sex, or those that don't realize the gift of their XX or XY chromosome, or those that, understand my example? So
Right.
I don't think we should stoop down to their level because we want to build them up to what the dignity really is.
Well,
And secondly, I was just another point. Sorry, just another point. I was listening to Father Rippinger, some YouTubes about exorcisms, and I just want to let it be known that some things that he said, where there are certain demons have attachments to people, and they're specific to the attraction to the opposite sex. So that's just the spiritual realm of it all. So something for those that face the temptations to maybe look at. Maybe I need spiritual healing to get over this. And maybe the whole cause is biological because their mother took birth control when they conceived. Who knows what's in their water? Things like that. There's so many different factors, but there is a spiritual aspect to it. I wish people would realize. That's it.
Okay, so Lynn, couple things. We stated at the beginning, you might have been on the phone with Ryan when we had discussed this. We just used for the purposes of this discussion. Remember, we only have a brief hour with the whole, the whole world right now on the radio. So we had to go quickly. So that's why, for the purposes of this discussion, we just, titled the LGBTQ community because, let's face it, that's what they put out there as marketing, for the gay pride parades and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so now you can say same-sex attracted folks. That's the same thing. It's still a form of labeling. But I totally agree with you in the sense that, and I've said this before, we are children of God first. Okay, and we need to remember that, and our ability to evolve and to grow and to learn and to get closer to God and to expand and to be on this incredible adventurous journey of life is amazing. And when we stop ourselves with these labels, we are totally, preventing that growth and that forward movement and that understanding. And it to me, it's so incredibly, tragic because it doesn't allow that soul to journey. It puts them in that bucket and says, okay, now you're part of this group. Okay. And this is the group you shall stay until the day you die. That there's something wrong with that. And so I just wanted to say that, I agree with you, Lynn, that these labels can be really problematic. Jerry, I know Lynn was probably just listening to what we had to say. She dropped off, but what do you think about that? I mean, I have a real problem with putting people in a big, bucket and saying that's where you have to stay the rest of your life.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that. I think that was very, very good insights on your part. And then she mentioned, I believe, Father Rippinger. I can't remember his first name. I think it might be Chad, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to look that up. But I believe he is involved in things like exorcism and so forth. I don't know that much about him. I would have great respect for him as a priest and whatever his ministry is, but I'm not personally familiar with what that is. But I would probably be quick to say we need to be careful about assigning, a same-sex attraction or something like that to strictly a demonic influence, if you will. I mean, there's no question that there are demonic influences in everybody's lives. There are demons that are trying to tempt all of us and sway all of us all the time. If we're in a state of grace, to pornography and things like that. So if we're in a state of grace, we don't need to worry about that. There can be some spiritual influence at play in this issue. There is no question about that. But I think, the church, in fact, I was looking, as I was reading the catechism on this, Debbie, I don't think I saw any mention of demonic forces or anything like that. So the church is really cautious in that regard, not denying that that's possible. Okay, I want to be very clear on this. But I would say, most people who deal in these, psychological or psychiatric and emotional, treatment of people with same-sex attraction would probably say it's more along those lines than along demonic lines. That's just my own personal thought on that.
Well, again, and when we start to try and figure out the why of this, why did this happen, or why did that, was it biological? Is it in the DNA? Was there something wrong in somebody's chromosomes, way back? Again, it's labeling. We know what I'm saying, Jerry? We've got to be very careful and sensitive and sympathetic to where people's journey is, where their journey, takes them in life. So we have to be very, cognizant of that and aware that this can be very hurtful to people because, they may have a whole different reason why they think, they have certain things that they deal with. So, and you're right, Jerry, it is Father Chad Rippinger. So it is Father Chad.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lynn, we know you're listening. Hope that helps to kind of round out your take on this, and we're glad that you called in, and we appreciate it.
All right, Sam, we're going to go to Sam next in Houston, listening on Guadalupe Radio Network, and a first-time caller to Take Two. Hi, Sam. Welcome.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sam, and I'm in Houston. I'm a 56-year-old gay guy. And when I was growing up, it was all about I'm coming out, and then Diana Ross with her I'm Coming Out song, and I mean, with all the queens of the gay bar and all that madness, it was just, I got caught up into it. And then and then I stayed by myself, because I was too feminine and girly, so that kind of was okay. But it saved me from the AIDS because nobody wanted to mess with me because I was such a girl. And then I even turned myself into a girl, and that didn't help either. So, I mean, in 2016, I had my conversion and returned to the confession, and I haven't stopped going to Mass ever since. All my little friends, whatever, all that labels. I'm so healed up and beyond all the labels. I mean, I can refer to myself now as Sam, even though it's Samantha, in the secular world, because, I mean, they see what they see and, all the wig and the makeup. And I have no other choice, but I have to live by myself. I'm not leading anybody into sinful behavior per se, and I personally, I want to say this much. This is the way I feel that since I know about procreation, I know God made man, and, in his own image. So I understand, and I completely live by myself like a hermit because I don't want to have friends that, in their mind, like we say in the Confessor, that I have in my thoughts, does that mean, you know what I'm saying about that?
Yeah, Sam, if I can interject a question here along the lines of our topic that we're talking about today, you would be a perfect one to answer this. How you must have had many friends and acquaintances and associations when you were practicing the same-sex lifestyle. How were those affected by your return to the church, the sacraments? Were you still treated with love and respect, or did you find that some people didn't want to associate with you anymore?
And right away, I'm a bigot. Yeah, I'm a bigot. You were racist. Right away, they manipulate all my little gay friends, which is some queens, gay guys, lesbos. You're a bigot. You're a bigot. Because I'm a traitor. And one even call me like a Benedict Arnold it's just awful. Right away, they love to throw you in the pot of the bigot. You're the bigot. You're the racist.
Yeah, well, tell you what, Sam, you've had a great grace in your life. Debbie, he has been very, very graced, and Sam, I'm sure that you are much happier now, I presume. You identified yourself still as same-sex attracted, which is a great, I think, an important point to make, Debbie. Here, the church embraces all people. And like I said earlier in the show, there are many, many people in the pews with all of us on Sunday and weekday masses and so forth who have a same-sex attraction. And you know what? It's just not really a big deal for them. It's not a self-identification. It's just something that they have experienced in life. But like I said, they identify first as Catholic and various other things.
Well, and I just want to say, Sam, I think you're a very strong soul. Okay, and you're doing what's best for your soul. Okay, you said you went back to confession, you left that lifestyle, and yes, it's lonely here on earth, but you're doing the right things for your soul. So God bless you for that. Keep up the strength. You're a strong individual. This is why I tell everybody, set your eyes on Jesus. Fix your eyes on Jesus. That's for all of eternity. This world is like a brief time in a bad motel. That's what St. Teresa of Avila used to say. Okay? But what do we do here on earth? We get sucked into this world and we think this is it. It's not it. Let's set our eyes bigger and set our eyes on eternity. Way to go, Sam. Keep up the good fight and keep on keeping on. Stay strong in the faith. That's important. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we'll be right back.
Dr. Scott Hahn.
Jesus gave us the most perfect of prayers. It's always prayed by the Catholic Church after the consecration and right before communion, but always there at the climax of the Mass.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
Now, a quote from Mother Angelica's perpetual calendar. If you're having a hard time with humility, You can look at your littleness and see how you're doing. If we're self-opinionated, we can't be little. We find it very difficult. If we're hot-tempered, we can't be little. If we're arrogant or proud, we can't be little. It all boils down to the ability of being little. Mother Angelica's perpetual calendar is available at EWTNRC.com.
Father Benedict Rochelle.
I must tell you that from what I observe from very young people, all of these blasphemers, all of these mockers are in for a tough time. Because the devil bites his own tail. And I find among young people a growing reverence and longing for God. I find a decline in the cynicism and skepticism around. Because it had to destroy itself. No one can live on being an enemy of God. It's too crazy. It's too absurd. It's too dark. It's too bleak. God is beautiful. God is holy. Why in the world mock God?
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
I'm Gloria Purvis.
And I'm Deacon Harold. The Morning Glory team asks, does it matter if Jesus is male or female?
Tomorrow morning, 7 Eastern. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
We're so glad you're with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, talking today about Catholicism and the LGBTQ community. And we're going to go back to your phone calls. We got a lot of social media, and let me see. No email coming in yet. You can email us always at take2@ewtn.com. But we're going to go to Mitchell, South Dakota, and we're going to talk to Bobby, listening on Real Presence Radio. Hi, Bobby. Welcome to Take Two.
Well, good morning. God bless, and Dominus vobiscum.
Et cum spiritu tuo.
Amen. I haven't had a chance to listen to your whole program. I've been kind of busy today, but so I'm not sure where I'm stepping into it. But I will give you my personal slant, and that's all. I just look through the world through my eyes.
Absolutely.
And I can imagine others' positions. Cradle Catholic now. Not just a perfunctory Catholic, but devout. And actually, the church calls me a sensitive. I'm born into a Catholic, family. Since my earliest recollection would put me in year number 2, my second year. I knew I was a girl. I knew I wanted to be a girl. And now my voice doesn't sound like it. But please don't get a picture of a Mack truck with a kimono on. I don't look anything like that. I am transgender. I am transfemale. I am also almost 70. I went through 6 decades of my life feeling at odds with myself. And like I say, I always went to Mass, always received the sacraments, but underlying, and I had some wonderful joys in my life, great family, some wonderful jobs, and things like that. But at the underlying of it, I knew, picture if you will, a picture puzzle, jigsaw puzzle, and all of the pieces don't fit, use this metaphor. And I knew they didn't fit, but how are you going to bring this topic up in 1957 or 62? It's not going to happen. So you just shut up and you bear the pain and you just be quiet. But it becomes to the point where you really can't, you lose heart and you start to corrode from the inside out. And that pretty much reached its crescendo with me by about age 64, 63. And I went through much of my life just wishing that life would hurry up and get over with so I could get out of here. And I knew that was wrong. That's not what God intends. He doesn't say, well, here's a life. It's going to be X number of years long. It's going to be miserable. Get back to me at the end of it. Tell me what it was like. He doesn't do that. That's not what he does. And we're put on earth to be the best child of God we can. And I definitely was mediocre at that. So I thought, I have to find out who I am and why at the best of my ability. I prayed over it. I cried over it. I tortured myself over it. And I finally thought, well, whatever I am. Let's find out. And I did. This is not, I don't know, I can't speak for anybody else, but this has been strictly a spiritual journey for me, because I came to stop the self-hatred. I started to love that creature that I saw in the mirror that God made. He made me for a purpose, like everybody else. And I came to the understanding of that. Now, I was concerned. I thought I'd be in hot water with my church and everything like that. That's the last thing I wanted. I thought I didn't want to, upset God or get in his road at all. And I found out the exact opposite is true, because I found the spirituality that the metaphor I use when I talk to people is that picture a flower garden that has just bloomed and grown and just exponentially continues. And my relationship with most of my fellow man is very good. There are some that hate me because I had a Ford. There are some that hate me because I have glasses. And there are some that hate me because I'm transgender. I can't help that. But my relationship with the Trinity, my church, the Blessed Mother, the saints, my guardian angel, and by the way, I know her name. She told me, is nothing short of miraculous. And I have an understanding of God and the eternal better than I ever have before, because the self-hatred is completely out of my life. And now I live to be, as I said before, the best child of God I can.
So, Bobby, you would
in a nutshell.
You would describe yourself as happy now. Then you're a happy person.
I am happy because I am happy in the grace of God, and that everything else falls into place. To me, life is no more complicated than this. God created all of us so he could love on us, and for us to love on him back, it's no more complicated than that. Everything else falls into place. I look at life a little simplistically. I try not to make it crazier than it has to be.
Right.
And like Father Gorshel said, when you live angry at God or opposed to him or you're in combat with him, it makes crazy making for life. But when you live in accord with him, and this is what I have found in my journey, that I walk every day with the Prince of Peace.
Well, Bobby, you've got a very soft and beautiful heart, and I just want to acknowledge that first of all. And this is obviously something you did not do hastily, willy-nilly, or what have you. You said that you were worried about what the church would say about this, and we certainly aren't privy to what kind of encounters you had with, say, a priest or anybody like that, as far as the ethical nature of this decision or what have you. But I think that we have to acknowledge, I think, one thing, and I don't mean this as an offense to you. You've obviously felt that you were called to a different path, but Debbie, I don't know that I don't think we know, where these types of feelings come from. It's becoming much more prevalent in our society today. And Bobby, I think you're somewhat unique, because we do hear of a lot of people who take the same road that you did and are end up very, very unhappy and depressed and addicted and things like this. And thanks be to God that wasn't the situation with you. But we do understand, I believe, as Catholic Christians, that God, makes us male and female in his image. We read that in the book of Genesis. And I mean no offense to you, Bobby, with this, but I think that needs to be stated. Regardless of your situation, you have taken the road that you have, and we are not here to judge you on that, but you have to stand before God. And Debbie, as you said before, we all have to stand before God just based on who we are as souls created in his divine image and likeness. So, Debbie, I don't know if you've got a thought or two.
Yeah, just I wanted to say, Bobby, you were, you 70 years, so you're living a long life, okay, and so you've grown and you've matured and you've understood about your life and what it means for you and your soul, and you've helped that with how you now are a devout Catholic. And see, and this kind of goes back to Sam, who called in from Houston, and was talking about how he left that gay lifestyle. Okay, he left that, and he went to confession, and he was he's trying to live that devout Christian life. And that's why I was saying to him, stay strong, because it's important. He's tapping into his soul and what it means for him for eternity. And it sounds like you've really done that for yourself as well. You've really taken a deep look inside, okay, and realized that, you are this beautifully made child of God, okay, and the soul is going to go on for eternity. I think if we, and you said, I think it was so sweet. You said, I'm simple. I try to keep it simple. That's what Mother Teresa did. But I got news for you. She made some of the most profound statements in the whole entire world, because she did keep it very to the point. So I just want to say, I think there's, I think your story is very important, and I think, we can all learn from it. Bobby, is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, except thank you for hearing me. And my story is my own. I believe, as a Roman Catholic and as just a living being on the planet, there are many roads to God. And I found out, my priest told me this, and I thought, okay, what do you mean? But God understands the language of the heart. I told him, I said, I pray in Spanish, Latin, and English. How does he understand all that? He said he understands the language of the heart. And he does. He really does, because I can feel his presence in my life, and I feel the Holy Spirit within me daily. So this is an incredible spiritual journey for me. I love living. It was a gift, and I want to use it to the best that he would want me to use it for.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I just want to say something else too, Bobby, real quickly. You mentioned your guardian angel, okay? And we have all been given the gift of a guardian angel, okay? And you have tapped into that relationship and nurtured that relationship. Your guardian angel is there to help illuminate your mind and strengthen your will. Why? For the long journey back home to God. And so I just want to say thank you for developing that relationship with your guardian angel, because they are our greatest soul guards. We don't need to have to buy bodyguards or rent bodyguards or like the celebrities do. We have the best bodyguards, they're soul guards right with us in our guardian angels. So I just wanted to thank you for mentioning that. Right, Jerry?
Absolutely. Bobby, we'll keep you in our prayers, and we would kindly ask if you would do the same for us. We'd be very, very grateful for that. And thanks for listening to Real Presence Radio and for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Phone lines are just absolutely full right now if you're trying to get through, talking about Catholicism and the LGBTQ community. And Bobby, thanks again for your call, 833-288-3986. And we have Doris next in North Dakota. Hi, Doris. Welcome to the program.
Hello. First of all, I want to say that I hope I don't offend anybody when I speak, but I have a niece who is a lesbian, and she's trying to become a transgender. And she was abused, and I know some other people, and they have been abused by men. So I really believe that it takes part of it. But for me and my faith, I cannot acknowledge her lifestyle, but I love her. I love her with all my heart, and I pray for her, and I offer her up in Mass. When I go to Mass, I pray for her every day. So we have to separate what they're doing to who they are in life. That's what I believe.
Yeah, but if you got something, go ahead. I was going to...
Well, this could take a whole nother show real quickly, Doris. I just have to tell you, I get that. I understand it. I've heard it a million times in the Catholic world. We don't hate the sinner. We hate the sin. Okay. But the truth of the matter is your niece, she's a child of God, and she's got a choice. She's got free will. The greatest gifts that God gives us is our free will. And she's got a choice if she's going to get, drawn into this world and make this her heaven, or is she going to set her sights higher and really evolve her soul? I mean, it really is connected. I mean, we are body and soul. The only time that gets separated is in death, and then it gets reunited in our glorified bodies. So we are not going to be separate from our bodies. And so it's I struggle with this because I've seen it in teens. And that's why I love the ministry work that Courage does, couragerc.org, folks, or Encourage for families who are working through this, like in your family, Doris. But I'll tell you what, it's a really tough situation, and it puts people at odds. It divides families, and I think somehow we have to figure out a different way to communicate or relate to one another, so that in order we can get people to see things in a bigger way. Do you see where I'm going with this, Jerry? Instead of just getting tied to this earth.
Yeah, and I would add, Doris, thank you for your call. We're going to pray for your niece. There's so much confusion and misinformation and, quite frankly, lies that are being given right now by the culture to all people, but especially our young people. There's this tidal wave of young people who feel like they should be the opposite sex, or they're experimenting with their sexuality or what have you. I think I mentioned the other day on the program, the NBA basketball great Dwayne Wade, his 12-year-old son, 12 years old now, mind you, 12 years old. Where is he getting these ideas that he is a she? Well, it's from the schools, it's from the culture, it's from their peers and so forth. So I think there is just so much confusion out there. What we need to be doing is helping our young people better understand their true identity, who they are, made in the image and likeness of God, made for greatness, like Debbie was saying, made for a special purpose here on this earth, and a purpose that is to be lived out in the gender in which they were created by God. Again, this is not to offend anybody. We had Bobby on the show a minute ago, and Bobby is very convinced that he has taken the right path. But I think, with our young people today, Debbie, we just have to, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to getting back somehow to helping them understand what their true identity and their purpose is.
Well, but think about it, Doris and Jerry. When we take God out of everything, what are people trying to focus on? I mean, think about it. We've removed God from everything. Okay, put God on the shelf. Don't think about God. Don't even mention God. Don't bring God into the conversation. So when you do that, when you remove God, what do you have left? You have this messy thing called life and earth. That's a mess right now. What do you think, Doris?
I agree. I pray that God is brought back into each of our families, into our schools, and into our government. That's how I pray. And for my niece, she wants everybody to call her Dom, and I won't do it. And I tell my family that. I just can't do that, but I love her. I want her to come to know God better. She started this when she was 14. She went to a Catholic school until, I think, 4th or 5th grade. So she has that background in it. But I truly believe, from talking to other people who are living that gay lifestyle, a lot of these, usually it's women that I talk to, and they've been sexually abused, and they can't, if they don't get healing from that, they're going to lead to other things.
Yeah, they can't get past it. Right. I've heard that too. Yeah, it's very, and you know what? Those people that did those horrible things to these innocent souls, they're going to have to pay for that. I mean, that's just the way our God works. Our God is a just God. So, I mean, this is terrible. That's why we've got to start getting things back to a God-centered existence, right? So that everybody can kind of play by the same rules, if you will, so that we can understand how we have to be respectful of each other, and our actions, have consequences. I mean, there's all sorts of things that have just been pushed aside in this world, and it's really tragic. Doris, you bring up a lot of good points, and I just want to say we're gonna be praying for your entire family, and this is a tough situation you guys are in, but you can hear the love you have for your niece, and that's the beauty, and the love will prevail. Doris.
Well, I have six. Well, there's 6 of us girls in our family, and all of us have been either molested or sexually abused. So if you would pray for my whole family and its siblings, brothers, that some of it have done that. So our family's kind of messed up, and we need all the prayers we can get.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean this flippantly. Welcome to the human race. One of my seminary professors used to say, God bless the human condition. He didn't mean that, in a positive way, but he just, meant, may God have mercy on us, because I too went through sexual abuse, Doris, when I was a boy, and so many men and women have, and we're living with the baggage from that, and it's kind of up to us and up to God's grace, to work in tandem with each other to, try and heal that and get beyond, the ramifications of that, to be who we are really called to be by God. Thank you, Doris. We will definitely pray for all of your family, as Debbie said. And Deb, I have something on my heart. I just want to say.
Sure.
This will be rebuffed by a lot of people, perhaps, who don't have the eyes of faith or don't see it the way I do, we do, the church does. But there is no institution, organization on the face of planet Earth that loves and respects and dignifies same-sex attracted people more than the Catholic Church does. The Church offers true freedom and true acknowledgement of a person's dignity and self-worth, and respects them and so forth. The church is not discriminatory toward anyone who wants to have whatever relationship they want. The church is not in the business of trying to tell people what they can and can't do in their private lives. The only thing is, the church has teachings handed down from Jesus Christ, and those are teachings that the church can't change. It's impossible for the church to change those things. So there's going to be this tension, and somehow we have to try and figure out a way to help people to appreciate what the church is trying to convey to them. I just wanted to share that.
That was beautifully said, Jerry, and thank you for saying it. Real quickly, I just wanted to share, I think that Bobby will get a kick out of this. There's a wonderful article on Church Pop, and Church Pop is just a great resource from EWTN. And I'll tell you what, folks, if you don't know about Church Pop, just check it out. It is so amazing. But there's a article today about the priests and their guardian angels waking them up before their alarm goes off, or when they turn their phone off. The guardian angels waking them up so they can visit the dying. It's just fascinating. I love Church Pop. I just have to say that. And it just really, it really helps us along that spiritual journey, just to reinforce, that we have to fix our eyes on Jesus. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey, Jerry, can we talk about something real quickly? We have full phone lines, and we didn't know that this was going to be such an active show. We're getting a lot of text messages, emails are coming in. And what do you feel about, possibly tackling a part 2 on this, so folks can have more time to think overnight, and maybe we can, round out this discussion and, really walk away with a better understanding of what's going on in life?
Well, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie is the listener's show. Folks, it's your show, and we always say, when you have spoken, that you find the show so impactful or stimulating or what have you, that the phones remain busy till this part of the program that you have spoken that you do want a part 2. So, yeah, I'm in complete agreement, Deb. I think we should.
Okay, so if we don't get to you today, bring you up on air, please call back tomorrow and tell Ryan you were holding, and he'll happily put you at the front of the line. But let's see how many more we can take. And Jody is up next in Vancouver, BC, listening on Sirius XM 130. I love Vancouver, Jody. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I was telling your call screener that I did start the first Encourage group in Vancouver, British Columbia. And it was actually started, I was before the Blessed Sacrament, and I have a son who has same-sex attraction. And I heard in my heart that if you do not embrace this cross, it's going to crush you. It was very painful for me. And God knew that. So I did go into the confessional, and I told the priest, and I said I would do anything to help families like myself. And from there, I was able to write to Archbishop Michael Miller. And in my letter, I did write that my son is first and foremost a child of God. And he was very gracious. And that started in 2006. And I also wanted to say that Father Harvey has also always said he never forgot he was guiding a soul, ever. And he always spoke in truth and love. And just, for your callers that have children, like myself, the one word we have in common is pain. It's on both sides. But for me, Encourage has helped me to navigate how to talk to my son, because I'm so, of course, close and emotionally involved. And helps me very much with the words that I can say. But one thing that I think the Holy Spirit has upon my heart when my son and I were talking one day was I told him, as a mother, I have far more responsibility to guide your soul than you do to guide mine.
Jody, forgive me for jumping in. You hear the music. That means the show is coming to a close. So John and Maria and Ken and the others, we are going to do a part 2 on this topic, Catholicism and the LGBTQ community, tomorrow. Jody was mentioning Encourage. She started a chapter. That's for parents, I believe. I'm not sure if it's all other family members, but parents of those who have a son or daughter with same-sex attraction. CourageRC.org. For those who wish to live prayerfully, spiritually, according to the sacraments. The church is not here to judge. Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie is not here to judge. We have candid conversations. We present what the church believes, and hopefully that has an impact on all souls who hear it. So we're going to continue with this conversation tomorrow. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day.